Hey everybody, off the top rope here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. Talking about SmackDown here for what was February 21st. So it's from New Orleans. The Rock shows up. It's a big deal. Everybody was hyped up about it. We'll get to the particulars of The Rock in just a second, but just talking about this episode of television. This was the worst episode of SmackDown since Triple H took over. I would put it right up there with the Raw after WrestleMania 39. If you remember, that was when Vince McMahon notoriously came in and just threw everything up. And there was a bunch of just things that didn't make a lot of sense. It was one of the worst episodes of television I've ever seen. This was pretty bad because there were segments that were rewritten. Drew McIntyre randomly lost to Jimmy Uso. You had Liv Morgan taking on Naomi, or like you thought it was a match. You had Tiffany Stratton in a weird beat that, like, there was a lot of weird stuff that happened on this show. Um, Damian Priest and Braun Strowman win a fun main event. We're clearly planting more of the seeds to what's going to happen with Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. But really, what this episode was about was The Rock. And I said it a couple of days ago. I've been saying it for the last week. The Rock does not give a shit about the bigger picture of WWE. He does not care about the fans. He cares about one man and one man alone, and that is Dwayne Johnson. And that was never more apparent than this segment that he had with Cody Rhodes, where he first announced what we all expected, that WrestleMania 42 is going to take place in New Orleans. Big deal. Third time in 15 years. They had 30, 34, and now 42 next year. I think it's the 10th and the 11th of April next year, 2026. So very cool for New Orleans. But then this devolved into just a weird rambling. The Rock turned heel at one point during this promo when he was babyface to start the whole thing off. It was bizarre. He brings out Cody Rhodes. He starts glamming up Cody Rhodes and basically saying, hey, we've become pretty good friends. Our mothers have become friends, puts them up on the Titantron. You remember the whole Mama Rhodes thing? So we completely just bastardized the whole storyline from last year. We made Cody bleed, which was incredible. And we get to the point of this promo where Rock basically says, hey, I want you to be my champion. And at the end of it, the powerful words of this promo that really just were weird, saying, I want your soul, which is like, what are you, Rock, the Undertaker all of a sudden? Again, I guess at Elimination Chamber, a week from Saturday, Cody is going to give The Rock his answer. Is he going to sell out? So this is whole corporate sellout type gimmick, which, on some level I could, appreciate, because there's a lot of avenues they could go. But given everything that has been hyped up and everybody was expecting, maybe he was going to set up with something with Roman Reigns, or maybe he was going to set up a match with Cody Rhodes, and maybe that's where this is going. This was so incredibly confusing, underwhelming, and everything that we hyped up to have to. The reason why this episode of SmackDown was so bad, think back to that episode after WrestleMania 39, the Raw after. What was the theme there? Rewrites, tearing up the whole show and rewriting it again. What happened literally 24 hours before this show? Rock said, hey, I'm coming in. I'm going to do a segment, presumably to announce WrestleMania, which was probably, they're saying it's last minute. They probably had the WrestleMania location, but they finalized a lot of this. Again, The Rock is about himself. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. One of the big reasons why the road to WrestleMania the last couple of years has been bumpy, and especially this one, and we've been in kind of a holding pattern for the last, I don't know how long it's been, since really, the start of the January 6th Netflix. Like, we've really been in a holding pattern on this road to WrestleMania already, is because Rock is the final boss, literally and figuratively. Like, he can move heaven and earth, and literally they will do everything for him. But this whole thing with Cody, I don't get it, man. I don't understand why we have to do this corporate sellout thing to hype up and drum up interest. And to me, it doesn't really add a whole lot. like, I've heard some fan theories about what could potentially happen, but the way they started this thing off was bizarre. It was rambling. It went on forever. It didn't really like Cody looked confused. A bunch of the fans were audibly confused. Like it really, and then Rock just like, turning heel mid promo. It was a strange night. And I see a lot of the women's wrestling fans who are bitching and moaning and trying to complain to Triple H. Guys, The Rock came in and basically had them rewrite the show because there were two matches that were presumably pulled. There was an announced six-man tag with Cody Rhodes involved. He was pulled from the match to do this segment. So it leads me to this point. And this is going to be a hot take. And maybe some people will agree and some people will disagree with me because I understand fully the star power and the amount of attention that The Rock commands. And that is good for the business, and understanding he really does genuinely love the business. He grew up in it. That's where his roots are in, like his mother and his grandmother, and his father and his grandfather, all in this business. And I understand that completely. But can we move off of The Rock? WWE would be better if they did rely on this guy, because I am starting to get Vince McMahon vibes from Dwayne, because he has come in the last 2 years, and fortunately the fans instituted and implemented, and this was part of the promo, that it took away his dream of facing his cousin Roman, which he could have done any time in the last 5 or 6 years. He just didn't want to do it because now it just conveniently suits him. WWE, I think, would be better if The Rock just stayed out of it, because this company, if you remember last year, when The Rock was barely involved, they were red hot going into SummerSlam. You had the bad blood thing. Like, what was the number one feud last year? CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Like, we don't need The Rock in any of these business decisions. Like, yeah, he can be a member of the board of directors, but he doesn't need to be involved creatively in storylines unless he is going to wrestle a match and face his cousin Roman Reigns, which they've already completely blown their best opportunity to do that with the whole Solo and Roman storyline over the Ulafala. It was right there, and they completely just bastardized it. And maybe this is all a convoluted way to get there, but I don't see it. But this was so incredibly underwhelming, because everybody, we were going back and forth saying, oh, we may never see the match because now he's doing a Scorsese movie. And then immediately, all of a sudden, he's on the table for the show tonight. Everybody's throwing out their theories. Women's wrestling fans are mad because their segments are being cut and stuff. Everybody's up in arms. And then we get this rambling piece of shit segment that just didn't make any sense whatsoever, and just created a bunch of confusing questions, which on some level makes it really unpredictable, which okay, because there is some fan theories out there that maybe Cody turns it down and then John Cena is the one that aligns with The Rock, which would certainly be something. Two Hollywood guys taking over and, running roughshod over the company. That would actually be interesting. But the way they started this thing, it's all about how you start something and really how you create something out of the gate. And maybe they can create chicken salad out of chicken shit, because they did that last year with the whole Rock stepping over Cody to get to Roman Reigns, and then we effectively changed that. But this was not good, and then trickled down to the rest of the show because The Rock came in at the last second. It led to a bunch of rewrites. So if you're looking for somebody to blame for what transpired in New Orleans on Friday Night SmackDown, it is absolutely 100% Dwayne Johnson. 100% Dwayne Johnson. He's having a fucking press conference after a SmackDown. You cannot tell me that this is not all about him. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's like, I got vibes of that WrestleMania the night after WrestleMania 39, and just all these questions and all these weird booking decisions. It was like Vince McMahon was writing this shit. Like, everybody wants to blame Triple H for how bad the women's division is. Like, there are admittedly some bad choices at Triple H. First of all, Triple H ain't Tony Khan. But The Rock coming in here and just doing whatever the fuck he wants and holding up creative decision-making because nobody knows what he wants to do, and he can move heaven and earth and do whatever he wants, that is really just been to the detriment of this company. The Rock is not good for WWE right now. He is because WWE is at its best point creatively. He needs to come in and leech off of it because that's what matters to him. Okay. And it's really a shame because the business really is in his blood. It's in his DNA. And that's what made this whole thing. And it's what made the last couple of years just so freaking bizarre. Because he is the most charismatic and one of the most entertaining people that wrestling has ever produced, that just in general is one of the most charismatic and entertaining people in the world. It's easy why everybody loves The Rock, but this was just, I don't understand it, man. Like, I really don't get it because I'll say it again, man. Like, I just don't see how WWE needs The Rock anymore. They don't need him. At this point, Rock is just a big name. Induct him into the Hall of Fame. That's great. That's all we really need anymore from him. I'm tired of this shit. I've been hoping for Rock Roman for close to a decade now. And they had their best opportunity to do this, and he completely bastardized that at the Netflix premiere. And now we're going into this corporate sellout storyline when everybody leading into this thought it was going to be a wrestling match that we were going to get. I would be okay but how are we going to get to Cody Rock? How are we going to get to Cody Rock? Rock's just going to insert himself into the chamber and win the match? How are we going to get there? If this leads to Cody Cena and Cena sides with Rock, maybe that's interesting. But why did we need this segment? And the way the delivery and all of this stuff, it was just so awkward. Why did this need to happen? Because it just drastically affected a SmackDown show that is struggling already under its current 3-hour format. And we had a bunch of rewrites. It's just WWE does not need The Rock anymore. He doesn't. He is starting to hurt the overall product because the last several key decisions, and it was only on a pivot from, WWE and its audience that basically said, fuck this. We don't want Rock Roman under these circumstances. We want Cody Rhodes because fans were invested in it. It's been to the detriment of this product, and they were lucky that they were able to, like I said, create chicken salad out of chicken shit last year. So if you're defending this crap, good for you. There's some level of intrigue to this of what's going to happen at the Elimination Chamber if Cody's going to sell out and become the champion. But the whole soul thing, and you just it was just a weird, confusing thing. I was just sitting there watching this, and I was just like, what in the world is going on? Like, there's too many talented people involved in this that I just don't. And it's just a bunch of grandstanding. It's just The Rock being about himself. And I'm tired of it, man. Like, I've been willing to let it go for a long time because he is just so effing talented and he does so many great things to engage and captivate an audience. But this was too much tonight. And it hurt the show overall. That's my big thing. If you're starting to hurt the product and the overall things, which The Rock has started to do because he can't commit, he's all about himself. He only comes in when it conveniently impacts him. He does whatever the fuck he wants. It's just, what are we doing? What good does it serve to have this guy around anymore, other than he's The Rock? Okay? The biggest star maybe that you've ever created. But he doesn't care about you. It's clear this is all about him. Because brings out his tequila. He's got his own press conference after just a regular episode of SmackDown, one of the worst episodes of television that Triple H has ever produced. And Triple H has got to take the fall for this. On some level, he's got to bear this because he's the head of creative. But what is he supposed to do when a guy who's effectively above him has more power and more influence, can come in and just literally do whatever the fuck he wants because he knows Ari Emanuel and he knows all these other people that he keeps name dropping and Nick Khan. And it's just, guys, we've got to stop being indebted to The Rock. What has The Rock done outside of a decent 2-month build to WrestleMania last year? What the fuck has he done for WWE in the last 10 years? Outside of that, he's literally WrestleMania 32, he wrestled for 6 seconds. Eric Rowan on your bingo card, by the way. That's crazy to think about that. And then outside of that 6-second match, it was him and Cena in a couple matches at 28 and 29. And then he has the tag match, which was outstanding last year. but this guy doesn't offer you anything other than, his name. What are we doing? Come on. This was bad. WWE would be better if they just rid themselves of him, because like this, I don't know where this is going, and maybe they can convince me in the next 6 to 8 weeks that maybe this is going to be an interesting storyline to lead to something big. But it feels completely underwhelming for what we could have had coming out of last WrestleMania. It's really, really awful. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.